Welcome to the Stephen Mansfield Podcast.
Well, welcome to the Stephen Mansfield Podcast. Great to have you with me, where we try to understand some of the major events of the world in about 10 minutes. I want to talk to you about something that is happening in our time, which I believe historians will record as a major turning point in American history. And it's a negative thing, so I'm going to be a bit of a downer. I believe that our current retreat from Afghanistan is going to embolden our enemies in such a way, redefine the way America is perceived, and change our global politics in our generation in such a way that produces a profound impact on the trajectory of our country and the configuration of the world. So let's review this just for a moment and talk about what's happening. As you know, we have been in Afghanistan since the events of 9/11/2001, September 11, 2001. We went in there going after Osama bin Laden. We knew that many of those who were involved in the insurgencies and the attacks of our country were related to Osama bin Laden. We knew that they took sanctuary in Afghanistan, even though most of the bombers were Saudis, quite frankly. And so we've been in Afghanistan ever since. And of course, that means we've been there for almost 20 years. And I'll tell you, of course, it's been a very difficult, bloody, unsuccessful slog. We have not wiped out the Taliban. We did eventually catch Osama bin Laden, but years after we should have captured him the first time. We've lost American lives on the ground. And now we have chosen to pull out. I want to say, first of all, that I am not sorry that Mr. Biden decided that we would not stay in Afghanistan. That is not the decision that I'm going after. I believe that our situation there was untenable. I believe we could not secure the entire country without basically taking it over, which we weren't willing to do. We weren't about regime change. We were about trying to make the country safe from the Taliban. It was something we were not, our politicians, our national will was not there to make sure that we would do it fully. And so we needed to begin a process of leaving. But the way the Biden administration has chosen to do it has been unbelievably disastrous. And you know, those of you who listen to this podcast, you know that I usually don't go after an administration. I'm more interested in talking about ideas and policies and directions and leadership, and less interested in attacking anybody in office. But I'll have to say, and by the way, the Axios news service pretty much said this morning, and that would be on Sunday the 15th of August 2021. They actually said this morning that this withdrawal from Afghanistan was based on a president being more inaccurate than any president had ever been in their military predictions in American history. In other words, Mr. Biden made projections and set expectations so inaccurately, more inaccurately than almost any president in American history. Now let's go back and review this just a little bit. The fact of the matter is that we knew we needed to pull out of Afghanistan. We didn't need to set a short trajectory. We didn't need to do it overnight. We didn't need to do it quickly so that we jerked everything around and did it badly. And yet that's exactly what we have done. We have announced our withdrawal. We pulled out American troops. The Taliban, as we knew they would, began. This radical Islamist organization began to activate its warlords and take over provinces. And as I speak right now, they are on the very edge, the very outskirts of Kabul, the capital city. I expect, quite frankly, by the end of this week, that we will see the fall of Kabul. It's very possible that by the end of this week, we will see the fall of Kabul. Now, that was completely unnecessary. We did not need to announce our withdrawal with a very short time perspective. We did not need to do it on our own. We did not need to knee-jerk out of there, endangering lives, and that's exactly what we've done. Now, Mr. Biden is sending 3,000 American troops back into Afghanistan. Why? Because the lives of our embassy staff are endangered. Already, the president of Afghanistan has left the country. The British ambassador in Afghanistan, in Kabul, has also had to be airlifted out of the country. Think about it. We did it so badly that we've endangered the ambassadorial staff of our allies. Now, it gets worse than that. China, recognizing America's weakness, recognizing the folly of our withdrawal in Afghanistan, has already publicly announced the fact that it is ready to recognize the Taliban rule in Afghanistan. So one of our main enemy in the world, I would have to say that China ranks above Russia as our main opposition in the world. They're standing there in the wings, ready to recognize Taliban rule in Afghanistan, thus legitimizing that tyrannical reign, that violent, bloody, just absurd reign. It's not even Islamic, it's deformed Islam. And ridiculous in its leadership. It's anti-woman, it's anti-education, it's anti-medicine. I could tell you that I've had something to do with taking medical teams into Taliban-controlled areas of Afghanistan, and the men would show up at the medical clinics describing their wives' maladies because the Taliban wouldn't let Western doctors, even female doctors, meet with the wives of these tribesmen. It's just absurd. It's backward. It's antiquated. It's deformed Islam. It's hillbilly Islam in a sense, in the most extreme sense. So now China is actually saying that they will legitimize the Taliban's reign in Afghanistan. We're going to have another terrorist state. We're going to see it armed. We're going to see it go nuclear. We're going to see it declare war on its enemies. And you're going to have, between Pakistan and Afghanistan, you're going to have an Islamic stronghold right there in the belly of the Far East. And all of this, I do believe the Taliban was going to gain strength upon an American exit, but we did not need to let it happen this way. We've endangered lives. We've allowed shame to be heaped upon us. We look like fools in the world. Mr. Biden, when all of this began to come down, immediately said, well, I'm going to give them a stern warning. Well, you know what? Presidents are not school teachers. They're not librarians in the elementary school. You don't give a stern warning to those who misbehave. You hold the line. You put your military in play. You put teeth behind your words. That is not what we've done. Instead, we've got this older president, and I'm not a guy who engages in ageism, but you got this older president who is shaking his finger and scolding this hillbilly Islamic organization that has taken over an entire country because we abandoned it badly. We've endangered our allies. We've endangered our embassy staff. And I'll tell you what we're going to see in the years to come. We're going to see our enemies emboldened. This is a sign of American weakness. I don't think it's an accurate sign, quite frankly, but it's a sign of American weakness to the world. And our enemies are watching and they are licking their chops. And so I believe you're going to start seeing our enemies make bold moves everywhere in the world that we have tried to draw any kind of line or back our enemies off or threaten them with our military power. I think they're going to start testing us. I think you're going to see China move on Taiwan sometime in the next year to 2 years. I think you're going to see more activity in Gaza. I think you're going to see more activity elsewhere in the world. You're certainly going to see Turkey, which should not even be in NATO, coming out against the U.S., coming out pro-Russian, coming out pro-Islamist. We're going to be tested everywhere in the world that we've attempted to show any strength or draw a line. We already betrayed our friends, the Kurds in the Middle East during the Trump administration, and now we're doing worse than just betraying our friends. We are showing weakness, and that means you're going to get tested. We live in the woods in the midst of a pack of wolves, and if you show weakness, if you limp, if you start to bleed, the wolves will begin to circle and begin to devour the carcass. And so the U.S. is going to have to show strength. It's going to have to show up in power. It's going to have to back these enemies off. If we're serious about Taiwan, and I doubt that we are, we're going to have to stand our ground because China will go for Taiwan. If we're serious about our stance in Gaza, we're going to have to go hard after Gaza, go hard against Hamas, to hold our line, because we're going to be tested there. We're certainly going to be tested in Turkey. And quite frankly, the Biden administration should kick Erdogan and Turkey out of NATO. Now, why am I so fierce about this? Because this is the way international affairs works. You can't be weak. You can't be small. You can't bleed. You can't limp. You can't show weakness. You can't show folly. You can't show that you're aging and out of it, or the wolves will circle and they will come for you. And by the way, that's not just going to happen overseas. We show weakness. We show lack of resolve. We show that we can't even retreat from a fairly backwards country in any kind of order and with any kind of sense, that they will actually our enemies will actually begin to test us on our own homeland ground, on our own national territory. So I'm not a person who's a naysayer. I'm not a person who's negative, who's dark, who's a pessimist about the future. But I believe that the Biden administration has, having been horribly ill-informed and made ridiculous public announcements, they have withdrawn U.S. troops from Afghanistan in a way that is going to unleash a stink that will hover over us, unleash the sense that we are weak and foolish and ready for the taking. And if our leaders are going to reverse, if they're going to undo the damage done by this unwise president and his unwise military advisors, they're going to have to act boldly and do it now, because this has imperiled America.
Stephen Mansfield is a New York Times best-selling author, a popular speaker, and a frequent faith and culture commentator on Fox and CNN. His groundbreaking books on faith and society include The Faith of George W. Bush, The Search for God in Guinness, Mansfield's Book of Manly Men, and Lincoln's Battle with God. Learn more at stephenmansfield.tv.